Welcome, Housewives of True Crime. Wake Up Wednesday. It's been a couple Wednesdays since I have seen you guys here, but I wanted to bring in someone that had reached out to me about a very, very personal topic, actually, his dad's own murder. And of course, I am never going to say no to somebody that wants to talk about a family member. And so I sat down with Mike Gatto. He is from California. His father was murdered, and he is trying to figure out who did it. Now, Mike is an assemblyman from California, and his father, Joseph Gatto, or Gatto, Gatto, was murdered in his own home in 2013. Now, his dad was a beloved teacher, an artist, a father. No one could ever see this man getting murdered. So, what in the heck happened? I am going to try to uncover as much as we can with Mike. So, I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope you enjoy Mike. And, you know, at the end of the day, I told you I don't talk politics. So I told him, I was like, we don't talk politics on this when he reached out to me. And I knew that he was in politics. But that's beside the point here, right? He is looking at figuring out who did this to his dad. And that is a very human, personal topic that has nothing to do with the political arena. And so I definitely felt that with him, and I enjoyed our conversation. I enjoyed him a lot, and I hope you do too. So here is Mike. All right. I have a very special guest today that I am so happy that you guys get to meet. He is former assemblyman Mike Gatto. And welcome, Mike.
Tabitha Kane, it's great to be here.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Mike reached out to me after I think you heard me talking about prison reform, and Mike has a lot of information on that. And then he has a unique story because his father was actually murdered. Was it in 2013 or 2003?
Yeah, 2013. It was
2013.
11,
Okay.
11, 12, 13.
11, 12, 13.
Yeah,
Well, that is an interesting date.
for sure.
So I thought it would be great to have you on to kind of talk over everything that you know, everything that you're fighting for with your dad and beyond. So
It's great to be here.
let's first just talk about you. Who are you? Where'd you come from? Yeah, tell me who you are.
Silver Lake neighborhood, and I always emphasize before it was hip. Many, many years ago, the Silver Lake neighborhood was just a lower middle class neighborhood that was relatively close to downtown. And it was a great place to grow up, but it was not trendy. There were very few families there when I grew up at the time. When I was in my early 30s, I decided to run for the California state legislature. And by some miracle, I won, and I served 4 terms in the California legislature. And when I was there, I was known for everything from big reforms like the state's rainy day fund to fun reforms like bringing back classic license plates. So that's me in a nutshell. I live in southwest of Los Angeles now. I have 3 children, and they are just absolutely terrific. And
Okay, and what type of attorney are you? Got it. Okay. In 2013, you were how old? I mean, you don't have to tell me exactly how old you are, but you're a guy, so maybe it doesn't really matter. And that was in Silver Lake. So he was it in the house you grew up in? Did he live in a new house? Okay. And what I read, and so I mean you know way more than me, but it possibly was a robbery. Do you believe it was a robbery that had occurred? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the name of your book again? So we can just get that out there right now. Uh huh. Oh, yes, I see. Let's see it. Let's see it. Uh huh. Is it Audible also? Can you? And did you read it? Okay. I would like you to read it, actually. Then it comes with your own emotion, you know? Let's get into what is your theory? I mean, you're an attorney, you're a smart guy. What do you think happened? And then let's get into, I mean, your father's case is unsolved, and how did it take you into dark places? So, first, what do you think? Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I don't think it's too much detail. I mean, I talk about detail in all of my crimes. Let me ask you, were there fingerprints? When you say that the person didn't reoffend, how do we know they didn't reoffend? Mhm. And when's the last time that the DNA was sent through a DNA system? Right. There's a new DNA system that just came out this year. Oh gosh, or maybe it's not this year, but what? Actually, it's not this year. I saw them last year, but they were at CrimeCon this year. It's called Othram. Have you heard of this? They are the people that found uh, the murder in Idaho. Um, and so maybe something to look into because they have I wish I knew more information on this right now, but I don't. But they have some sort of ability with much more micrograms or something than anyone else. So uh, they. Mhm. Yes, and I will tell you that this company only will test DNA if it is submitted by a police department or professional. Like you can't just go say, "Hey, can you check this for me?" Uh, and it is a for-profit company, and so it's not going to be cheap. But something to look into, something to. I'll send you the information. I had it at CrimeCon. They had come up to me, so I will dig it out of somewhere and find it for you. But that means that your case is definitely solvable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still think it's solvable. They just solved the yogurt shop murders after, you know, 30 plus years. I think I'm right. I have a good intuition, by the way, Mike. You probably didn't know that about me, but I think it's going to be solved soon. Okay, so let's talk about some more. Like you said, your father's home was not. It didn't look like somebody had broken in. However, I know a lot of people that don't lock their doors. Um, did your not? Yeah, soon to be reader, Mike. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. 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 Do you think that this was the problem in the investigation? Because to me, I've done probably over 600 crimes at this point, and I've never done one with that kind of perpetrator ever. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't happen. Well, I also said they didn't see a gun on him. Mm, right. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. I would agree with you. When you say that they watched your dad bleed out, why do you think that they didn't run? Is there evidence based for that? Do you think my theory would be that your dad came in on them? And if he was setting up his, like maybe they were hiding up there until your dad got there, right? He comes in, he sets up the printer. He's not even in his bedroom, not even, you know, aware of anybody in the house, but they're like, shit, how do I get out? Or this person is like, now I'm stuck here in this house. I will tell you, I lived in Woodland Hills, and at 6 o'clock at night, my nanny was coming home, and I have security cameras everywhere, and three guys were breaking into my neighbor's house, full masked, and we caught it all on our surveillance camera. But it was at 6 o'clock when people are coming and going, and we could see them hop the fence, and then I could see them in their stairwell. Just you know, I mean, yeah. Oh, mm, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To you, what makes sense is maybe a hit on your dad. Is that what you are thinking more of? Like somebody, I mean, because with all the theories that you've told me, it sounds to me like mainly you believe that somebody did watch him die because the ransacking would have had to happen after he or while he was laying there bleeding out. Yeah. Right, right. Yeah, it doesn't make sense either the way that he was shot either, because it's not like he didn't die instantly. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Oh yeah. Yes. Mhm. It's odd. Yeah, it's odd. And so you say that it took you down a dark road. And what does that mean by dark road or dark, like what darkness? I mean, obviously if your father is murdered, that's pretty dark. Um and I think it's hard to not, it would be hard to find light in that. So, what exactly do you mean by that? Mm-hmm.
So the other dark things that where my father's murder took us was it's very easy for something like this when it's filled with so many mysteries to become an obsession. There were many nights that I did not sleep. There were many days where I felt like I needed to augment or help the LAPD in their investigation. I'll give you an example. They did make a sketch of this person running through the neighborhood breaking into cars. It was a very bad sketch. It was based on only the boy seeing it, and the sketch looked like anybody. But I had a
I
conversation with the police. I'm
I
sorry, go
saw
ahead.
it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I had a conversation with the police where I was like, hey, so your theory is that this is a kid from the neighborhood? Yeah. Well, and we have a sketch. Yeah. Have you checked the yearbooks from the local high school? There's only one high school in the neighborhood. Oh, we don't have the resources to do that. Okay, so I called the principal and I was like, hey, we got this profile of this guy, he's between, 21 and 25, but would have graduated these days. Will you give me the yearbooks? And I sat there, went through the years. I mean, it's stuff like that that was just probably not healthy, right? For me to obsess about. The other thing is, and I talk this through in the book, is when you are part of a high profile murder case, and I can only imagine what it was must have been like for like the OJ family or for the Nicole Brown Simpson family. But when you're part of a high profile murder case like this, in a city like Los Angeles that has had so many high profile murders going back to Black Dahlia through the Night Stalker, etc., uh, I got a lot of very, the only way to describe them is crazy tips. I had people calling me from around the country. I had people calling me who had an agenda. I had
Mm-hmm.
people call me who seemed to be completely rational. And then I met with them in person and they turned out to be just a little bit different. Let me give you an example. There was a fairly prominent soap actress who my father had taught. My father had co-founded an arts high school, so he had taught Josh Groban. He had taught so many people who went on to become famous in popular culture. So this actress called me and she said, "I know who killed your dad." Okay. And she said, "I can't tell you on the phone. I got to tell you in person." And that's not a red flag. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's totally normal. So, now I was in Sacramento, the state capital. So I was like, okay, so, we scheduled something for 2 weeks out. She's like, I'll tell you my theory at lunch. 2 weeks, like I can barely sleep. Like I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
so anxious to talk with her. She seems lucid. She seems very coherent. We get to lunch and she spins a theory that involves like Hillary Clinton and like some other big names and like it was just like, let's just say it was
Wild.
not credible. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's like my hopes had gotten like, this woman who knows my dad seems coherent. She's pretty famous. Like it's so important. She has to meet me in person. And so for 2 weeks, like I can't sleep. I'm like going crazy. Like, and then I get out there and it's just like, I mean, it was like, like, well, Epstein did this with you. I mean, it was like that level, right? And it was
Okay.
just a little like, so, you know, it was, that was another angle of things that was very difficult. Next, of course, was the toll that it takes on a family, of course, just
Oh, yeah.
seeing the strain in my oldest daughter. She was very young at the time, but she knew my father. My other two children didn't really know him. That was very hard. And so, look, it just, there's many, many reasons that this, I think took me to some very, very dark places.
Yeah. There's a lot of layers to that, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you're still living in it because it's not
Yes.
solved. And uh, let me ask you, have you ever thought about, because in your email to me it was like about justice. Have you ever thought about what justice would look like for you?
That's a great question. It's a really great question. And it's something that I thought about again this last month, right? So I know that there's many different types of justice, right? There's many goals of the justice system. One goal is to rehabilitate, one goal is retribution, right? It's making sure that someone is punished for the crime. The deterrence is a third goal, right? For the longest time, we had a DA in LA County who was known for being lenient, let's say. And so I always had this concern that they would arrest some kid and that the DA would say, well, he had a drug habit and everything like that. So we're going to let him out, after 5 years or something like that. We're going to seek 5 years and he'll serve 3. I can tell you that would not be justice to me. There's also the thought, that at some point they might catch somebody and then I will be faced with something similar to what I think Charlie Kirk's widow was, which is I thought it was just tremendous, just so powerful that she forgave her husband's killer. I don't know that I would have the strength to do that, particularly in the manner that she did. I like to think that I would. I like to think that that is something that I can do. And I like to, my brain understands that in theory, it's the right thing to do, but I still just don't know that I could.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Justice for me, I think, is also dependent on who this person is. If this was an old guy who had dementia, who thought that my dad cheated him in a jewelry transaction and he went over there and then a gun went off, okay, justice will look like something else. Well, that person's probably dead. But if that person's arrested, justice looks like something. If this was a young guy who was high on drugs, it depends on how present he was mentally. If he was just a callous, crappy kid, then yeah, okay, I want a certain type of justice. But if it was like something totally different, okay, I can understand that. But if this was like a plan, something other, and somebody did this premeditatedly, and this was something that was designed for financial gain or something like that, then justice looks like something else entirely.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, because you are an attorney, do you think our justice system is I mean, maybe you think it's the best justice system out there, but do you
Yeah.
think that there could be lots of changes to it? For
Oh,
instance,
absolutely.
what we're talking about right now, right? Because when you have somebody that's convicted of first degree murder, there's basically one sentence for them to get.
Yeah.
But maybe it doesn't always look, maybe, based on the character of the person is basically what you're saying, that maybe that one sentence doesn't, it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't saying like if this was first degree murder, then there should be different punishments. I was saying that if this was something else, right, if it was determined that it was a different type of murder, again, like for example, it would not have been first degree murder if there was an old guy with dementia who went over to my dad's house, had a dispute with him, pulled out a gun, the gun went off. That's not first degree murder. I don't, the person didn't go over there planning to kill my dad, so on and so forth.
But why
Now,
would he bring a gun?
good question, right? I mean, good
Because he
question. I
wouldn't
mean,
be he wouldn't bring a gun. I mean, he could get charged for first degree murder because he brought a gun over
that's
to your dad's
true.
house.
That is true. That is true. But I think in that circumstance, that person would not be charged with first degree murder, just from my practical understanding of the way the justice system is, functions these days. I, but to answer your question, look, I do not believe that the justice system is great. I had a very simple metric when I was in high office, right? If I would go to the DMV, right, and I'm at that time I was in charge of setting the funding for the DMV, right,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, and if I would go to the DMV and it was like they knew who I was, and I got treated like crap, I would be like, my God, how does the public get treated? And I had many, 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 many moments during my dad's case where I was like, wow, like like I'm friends with the mayor. This case is on the front pages of the newspaper every day. It's national news. It's on Dateline NBC. And this is how I'm getting treated. How does the public get treated in cases like this? And that's what I talk about in the book. That's why I wrote the book, is to draw attention to that precise principle, which is 40%, sometimes as high as 45% of murders in California are not solved. And I think the public or the family members and victims' families do not get terrific customer service, is how I would put it. And they don't get justice, and that breaks my heart.
Yeah, I just spoke with a woman. Her episode is going to come out on Wednesday, but her daughter is still missing since 2010 and out of Houston. We can think that she's probably no longer with us. Um, and just this year is the first time that the Houston PD has ever really reached out to her
Wow.
at all. They treated her pretty poorly until she had an advocate come forward and really kind of put her case together for her,
Wow.
take it to the police department and demand some respect for her. Um,
Yeah.
but that's been 15 years, you know?
That should never
Uh,
happen, right? That should
it
never
should not
happen.
happen. So you're right. I don't think, especially your case, you probably got a little bit more hand holding. And if you didn't get even nearly what you needed, the public does not get hardly
Yeah.
anything. And
Yeah.
based on also the logistics of where the crime occurred, who the person that was murdered. My friend Madison McGee, she has a podcast called Ice Cold Case. Her father was murdered in I want to in another state, maybe Virginia, and he was not, he was affiliated with some gangs, um, and I will tell you, no one cared about his
Yeah.
case or his family or his 6-year-old daughter at the time.
Yeah. I met a woman at a victims' rights march, and she told me a story. Her son died in her arms, and she says the whole neighborhood knows who killed him, and she cannot get any attention to it. And And you hear these things again and again and again, where it's just, it's just, some of it is just big cities, right? In big cities, it's harder to get justice. But, some of it is just that also that in big organizations, big police departments, you have great people and bad people, just like you do at the IRS or any other big organization. But I don't know, when you're dealing with something like murder, it is just like, you like to think that they're putting their best at it, and that, there's going to be people who are sensitive and helpful and everything like that. But that's just not always the case. And that's why like I said, that's why I wrote the book. I want people to understand that. I want people to maybe put themselves in the shoes of what it's like, so that when we are electing officials and setting budgets for police forces and things like that, that we speak up for victims' families.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what are you feel, I feel like you are the one that can do this. You've been in office, you have a legal background. I mean, if anybody's out there that can do it, you can do it.
Well, thank you. One of the things I talk about too is that I part of my decision not to run for higher office, just part of it, it wasn't all of it, but was the fact that my dad's case is still unsolved. To me, it feels like unfinished business, but there might come a time where I decide that the best way for me to advocate for issues I care about is to return to public office. And, that would be something that would motivate me, is certainly this experience. But in the meantime, I am trying to talk to as many people like you, and I want to thank you for everything you do, because, again, this is a club that most people, thankfully, never, ever, ever have to join. But for those of us who have been brought into the sad, sad, sad fraternity, I just hope that, different members of the public understand why things are the way that they are, and that we all work together to make them better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's do the name of your book again, so people can get it and read it. It doesn't look that long, so it looks like you can get through it pretty easily. Easy read, and then where can people find you?
So the book is called Noir by Necessity, and it's available on Amazon, or other, Barnes and Noble, so on and so forth.
By Mike Gatto, Gatto.
Gatto, yeah, as long as you have the A. Look, if people read it, that's also, I talk about that at the beginning. I think there's tremendous brain power out there in the world of people trying to, be amateur sleuths with a lot of these crimes. If people have ideas, they can email me, mike@mikegatto.com. It comes directly to me. There's no filter. There's nobody else. If you want to be anonymous, tell me you want to make it anonymous. But if you have a tip, I'd love to hear it. I consider all of them, and I pass them all on to the LAPD, and greatly appreciate any thoughts that your viewers have.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, multiple people know. Somebody out there knows what happened. With this DNA technology out there, I think, it's definitely a possible case to be solved. So I hope and pray for you, Mike, that it gets solved. And I think that just being who you are, you probably have the ability above a lot of us to make great things happen for our justice system and for our victims in particular.
Well, you're very kind, Tabitha. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, thank you, Mike.